The Labour Party conference is now. We've already seen some pretty spectacular statements come from it, but the most spectacular one that's come so far, and I think it's the last day of the conference today, it goes to the 1st of October, which, if I am not incorrect, is today, has been that Keir Starmer has declared war on the English people, or at the very least, English people who aren't going to vote for him and are going to vote for Nigel Farage. Before you ask, because I saw people talking about it in the YouTube chat, no, we're not doing the Labour conference compilations anymore. Callum used to do those because he was the only man with the stomach to sit through at least an entire day's worth, 24 hours worth of Labour Party conference content. Nobody in the office is willing to do that now. Okay, so we're not doing those anymore. Sadly, if we could get him back to do them, I would, but we can't. So we're just going with the highlights. And this announcement of war from Keir Starmer against the English people is actually part of, what is at this point, a very protracted series of slap fights between Keir Starmer and Nigel Farage, wherein, from a media kayfabe perspective, looking at this from pure wrestling terms, I can see a distinct heel babyface dynamic being set up, where Nigel Farage, so far this year, has been a bit of a failing babyface. Think 2007 John Cena. He's supposed to be the guy that you're rooting for, but he keeps making mistakes. The crowd's a little bit tired of him. He's starting to get some boos. So what do you need for a flagging babyface? You need a good heel, and Keir Starmer has decided to step right up into that. And Keir Starmer is a natural born bad guy. As we know, I've looked into his evil past before when he was just a human rights lawyer. We've seen him announce digital IDs, which, as far as I'm aware, was not a plank on the Labour manifesto. He does everything wrong, he hates you, and he's happy for you to know it. So who better to make Nigel Farage look good than Keir Starmer, right? And as I say, this is just a series of escalating slap fights. Nigel Farage puts out something saying Keir Starmer is not fit to be the Prime Minister. There's no point in playing this. It's everything that you expect it to be. But this goes back to like May here, where Nigel Farage plays a compilation of Keir Starmer saying his name about 16 or 17 times within the same speech, because again, politics is all about friend-enemy dynamics. Therefore, you need the enemy. Keir Starmer has named Nigel Farage as the enemy, and therefore any supporters of his as the enemy as well.
I'm just imagining quickly, sorry, just Kemi Badenoch watching that clip, just going, I wish he'd just mentioned me once.
No.
You know?
Nobody cares about Kemi Badenoch. Nobody remembers Kemi Badenoch.
No.
Isn't she that Nigerian?
Yes.
Yeah, which
She wants to be Prime Minister of Britain, you know.
Is she a Yagumba? What are the ethnicities in Nigeria?
I don't know. I don't have to know, actually.
A Yawewe?
Maybe.
Okay. She's a Yawewe Nigerian.
I remember the video of Starmer punching. Right. So imagine him in a wrestling match.
No. No.
That would be fun.
I don't want to imagine Keir Starmer in a leotard. Thank you very much.
Yeah, but you'd be so disappointed and annoyed that I'd find it funny.
This is very sus behaviour right now. Either way, Keir Starmer comes out. Remember earlier this year and towards the end of last year where Keir Starmer was starting to engage in a little bit of the firebrand right-wing rhetoric himself, particularly with the Island of Strangers speech. This was very clearly a coordinated PR thing to try and get him some good press following the absolute disaster that was his response to the Southport riots last year and his crackdown on people engaging in free speech online. So we had good guy Starmer. Gone forever. That PR campaign has been completely abandoned. Tony Blair has set his sights on Gaza and becoming, the caliph of Gaza instead now. So instead of like micromanaging Labour from behind the scenes, he's focusing on something else. So Keir Starmer has reverted to type, which means that Britain is a beautiful, tolerant and diverse country, and reform don't agree with our brand new British values that were established 5 minutes ago, but are retrospectively put across all of the time that Britain has been a thing, going back to before the Roman invasions. We've always been interested in tolerance and diversity, I assume. So he's going back to the old rhetoric. If you support reform, then you're not racist, or at least I won't say that you're racist, but I will imply that you are racist, as will all of my other people in the cabinet right now. So, and this is carried on. This is carried on into the Labour Party conference. But one of the funny things about this conference is, as well as targeting the right, Keir Starmer is really just like checking in his neoliberal centre-left brownie points right now. He's trying to re-establish himself as a sensible centre of sorts by also marginalising figures of the far left, including people like Owen Jones, who, as you can see in this Guardian article here, is very, very salty that he was not included in the Labour Party conference so that he could snipe and whine and moan and do all of those things that Owen Jones is known for doing. Asking intelligent or relevant questions is not one of them. So, you know, the Labour Party conference is not missing out on his presence, shall we say. But despite the lack of Owen Jones, they were still finally able to solve a question that has been at the heart of British politics, and particularly the most pressing question in many Englishmen's minds, which is what's happening in Gaza a genocide right now? Labour Party says yes. Amidst all of the problems that England and Britain as a whole is facing, this is one thing that the Labour Party voters could be united in. Now, I'm not saying that you're not allowed to be concerned about geopolitical events across the entire world, but there is this thing called priorities, and I feel that Labour should get its priorities straight if, as they keep repeating during this conference, they're looking to have a kind of national renewal. This is the big line that they're going for. National renewal. A Britain built for all. National renewal. The Tories left us in a right state. We need to pull it out of the gutter and renew the country for our national renewal. Anyway, Gaza. Bit of a non sequitur.
They constantly care about this issue way more than they care about domestic ones.
Perhaps the renewal.
Well, that's because a lot of their voters are not from domestic territory.
No, that says a lot.
Well, that's what I was going to say. It's a renewal of loyalty to their actual voter base.
Yeah, but also they are trying to rebrand their group, let's say their alliances, as a form of fatherland, to which you can be patriotic, because you can't be patriotic without being patriotic to a land and to a country. And they're using this rhetoric right now, just like Keir Starmer, you mentioned. He was talking about the islands of stranger speech, then he changed. Rhetorically speaking, he is a bit like Schrodinger's Enoch Powell. And now they are trying to talk about national renewal. The question is, what are they renewing? And let's just face it, nations, countries, they're just exclusive. You can't have a country of all people. It's not humanity at large.
They're renewing the post-war order. They're just going straight back to the post-Blair paradigm, the post-Boris wave paradigm, where they're saying at the same time, obviously Boris letting in all of these people was against the wishes of the people. However, if you dare say anything like perhaps they shouldn't all be given indefinite leave to remain for purely the sake of having shown up and claimed benefits, that means that you are, well, we won't say racist, but you know what they mean. You know what they're thinking.
But also not a member of the new effort to renew the nation. You're an enemy to us. You're an enemy of the people.
Well, it's again
a national enemy.
It's friend enemy. They explicitly call you an enemy in the speech that I'm going to play in a moment. But it really is just saying, like, if you're not for our policies, then you're against us and we're against you.
Yes.
And we will bring everything in our power against you, which means we know how far Keir Starmer likes to go.
Thank you for spelling it out to the general public.
Yeah, there was other weird stuff going on, typical like trade union stuff where a load of school children were being bussed into the conference by teachers so that they could hand out leaflets campaigning for free school lunches, free school dinners, which on its face is not like the most horrible policy, but given the demographic makeup of this country and how it's changing and birth rates across the country, all this is another subsidy for minorities, for ethnic outsiders' children, so that, I moved to England and I'm only claiming however so much in benefits, give my kids free meals as well. While English people are struggling to afford to pay their bills, they're struggling to afford the taxes that are being lumped onto them. This will just be another stipend for foreigners coming into this country so that their kids don't have to struggle the same way that our children do. That's all this is. But again, you get a load of kids bussed in from the school, and then the teachers say, well, it's the children. The children want... Yeah, of course children want free food. Obviously, offer children free food, they'll say yes. Okay? So this is not some kind of grassroots thing. They're just doing it for the optics of it. Either way, so here's some of the most recent speeches that came from yesterday. Most of it is from Keir Starmer, but what's her name?
Shabana
Mahmood. Yes, she also had some interesting things to say as well. So here is Keir Starmer reaffirming his love of free speech in this country.
Thank you, Conference. Free speech, free speech. Free speech is a British value, and we have guarded it for centuries.
You're a liar.
Yeah, we have. You haven't.
You're an absolute liar, Keir Starmer. Nobody believes you. Here he is, this is the clip. This is the one where he declares war on all of us. We already knew that he treated patriotic, nationalistic English people as his, mortal enemies. But like you say, it's nice for him to say it out loud for everybody.
And Conference, if you say or imply that people cannot be English or British because of the colour of their skin, that mixed heritage families owe you an explanation, that people who've lived here for generations, raised their children here, built their lives here, working in our schools, our hospitals, running businesses, are our neighbours. If you say they should now be deported, then mark my words, we will fight you with everything we have, because you are the enemy of national renewal.
There you go, national renewal, which is purely here so that the entire world can use us as a pit stop.
Other thing he says as well, though, is that have lived here for generations. Right, yeah, but there are some groups here that have lived on these islands for longer than 2 generations.
I see a man who is losing.
Yeah.
And he has to use he understands that the times are changing, and he has to change his rhetoric, and he has to appeal to the nation.
Well, it's an attempt at strong rhetoric, but frankly, Keir Starmer cannot do anything without appearing as though he's a deer in headlights. The man just looks perpetually starstruck and terrified. He does not project strength, no matter how loudly he wants to project his voice. He sounds like a nervous school headmaster.
That makes him more dangerous.
Children.
That makes him more dangerous.
No, I can see where you're coming from there. But again, the whole thing, I hate the argument of skin colour. It's deeper than that. It's about ancestry. It's about roots to the nation. It's about your heritage. The very fact that you can speak of mixed heritage backgrounds means that they are backgrounds that are not from here. Therefore, not British. I hate the use of Britain and British as a coverall civic identity. I can understand under the Empire how it shifted to that, but it is a coverall umbrella term for Welsh, English, Scottish, Northern Irish, and, don't shoot me, Irish people. Okay? Okay? Right. Just going to leave it at that. That's what British means. If you have the passport, that does not suddenly change your national heritage. That's not how these things work. I will leave it at that. There was the further parts of the speech where he started moaning about Nigel Farage because, again, heel babyface dynamic. He's trying to cut a promo on Farage, essentially.
Is listen to politicians who tell you there's a quick fix, a miracle cure, tax cuts that magically pay for themselves, a wealth tax that somehow solves every problem. The Brexit lies on...
Oh, the screen is broken. There we go. Just a heads up, this idea of tax cuts that pay for themselves. I mean, renewable energy, complete waste of money, and perhaps if you weren't paying huge government contracts for companies like Serco to just fly in, to bus in illegal invaders into people's neighborhoods and paying the landlords $3,000 a month for the benefit of doing so. I can think of ways that you can save money. I can think of ways that you could save money and pay for those tax cuts, but that's neither here nor there.
It's ridiculous, isn't it, when he says, oh, there's no quick fix. It's like, well, you could deport all the illegals, you could deport the Boris wave, you could cut off all of the universal credit for all of the migrants and the scroungers and everything. And it's like, there are so many things.
Does that appeal to our diverse and multicultural values?
No. It appeals to renewing Britain, though. In a genuine sense.
Now you're speaking my language, Luca. Let's carry on.
The side of that bus. Click here for your new country.
Still going on about Brexit.
We can all see these snake oil merchants on the right, on the left, but be in no doubt conference.
Sensible centre.
Have any interest in national renewal, because decline is good for their business.
It's not actually.
Come on.
I mean, think about it. When was the last time that you heard Nigel Farage say anything positive about Britain's future? He can't. He doesn't like
What is there positive to say?
Britain, doesn't believe in Britain, wants you to doubt it just as much as he does. So he resorts to grievance. They all do. They want to turn this country, this proud, self-reliant country, into a competition of victims, saying to you, to working people, don't trust in each other. You can't fix this. This is not a great country. But it is, conference. It is a great country. It will always be a great country.
That's right. What you heard there, folks, was Keir Starmer declaring that Nigel Farage is the woke, grievance-mongering, identity politics guy, whereas Keir Starmer is the true patriot with a national vision for the future that will make Britain great again. Not that they would ever... No, they would never go with something that catchy. It has to be Renew Britain, national renewal, and other things. As far as promos go, poor showing. Poor showing. Not very. 2 out of 10, frankly. He looks scared the whole time. As Stelios and Luca have pointed out, it shows signs of weakness. The position is very much one of they're not on solid ground. They can see reform shooting ahead in the polls. How can we do something to make this better? I know, you're woke, I'm the patriot, you're the soy jack, I'm the Giga Chad, jobs are good un. Also, we hate you, I'm going to declare war on you. Not great. Not great. There's another one where he just says, who cares? He just says, oh, we oppose racism. Yeah, go on, go on, go on.
Yeah, but the thing is like, we oppose racism. Keir, there is nothing you could ever possibly say that is going to talk me out of not wanting to become a minority in England. Right? There's nothing you can say that is ever going to make me do a 180 on that position.
There's also
so say what you want.
You can say whatever you want. Nothing can convince me that Shabana Mahmood, who is not from here, is not of here, and has no heritage here, is English.
Did you learn Urdu in the family household, Harry, growing up?
No.
That in English language?
This may shock you. I've only ever spoken English. And only took French and Spanish lessons in school begrudgingly.
Based.
And I've never needed them.
Good man.
Because if I just talk loudly and slowly at foreigners, they tend to pick up what I'm trying to tell them.
That's what it means to be English.
As is the English way. There were, obviously, she says that Nigel Farage is worse than racist. There was also a clip of her speaking at the conference where during her speech she was saying that England is giving rise to ethno-nationalism and the idea that people like me can't be English. Oh, that's a travesty. No, you can't steal my racial and ethnic heritage, nor can you steal my identity. Generally speaking, if somebody says that what's mine is actually theirs as well, it's because they want to steal it from me. If somebody tells me that my heritage doesn't exist, and I have no right or claim to it, that means that they want to erase me. And I take that as a declaration of war. Happily, they put it very, very clearly for me, that they hate me and they don't want me to have any power within my own historic nation. So thanks for making it clear. There were other things, of course. Most of the news reporting was talking about Keir Starmer's speech and the pot shots against Nigel Farage, the tit for tat going on there. There was more announced here, if you even really care all that much. It will, of course, mean more spending, so probably higher taxes. He promises no higher taxes, but it will mean higher taxes. Keir Starmer said the government would scrap a commitment to get 50% of England's young people into university, and it will be replaced for a target for 2/3 of young people to university or gold standard apprenticeships. Okay. To a waving sea of flags, Keir elaborated that the argument Labour is a party of national renewal. Labour is the patriotic party. He said the flags of the UK belong to all of us and we will never surrender them, which is why foreigners get so scared and angry and violent if you put up an English flag near them, obviously. And he also spoke about the upcoming budget, which everybody knows is going to raise taxes. In his speech, he reflected on the last budget, which saw the Chancellor unveil £40 billion in tax rises, the biggest increase in a generation, to money to pay for the NHS and other public services. He said, "We asked a lot at the last budget, I know that, and the tough decisions, they will keep on coming." But he rejected calls for a wealth tax and increases in borrowing to fund government spending. He said he would not cast off the constraints and indulge in ideological fantasy. He said that losing control of the economy means working people pay the price, and he promised, "I would never let that happen again." Tax rises. The government says we won't raise taxes, and then they raise taxes. That's not just Labour, that's the Tories, and also Labour before them, and the Tories before them. If you believed party manifesto promises, you'd think that taxes had never been raised. Ever. Because nobody ever promises to raise taxes.
Weren't they also against digital IDs in their manifesto and now talk about...
And now they're forcing it through without any kind of vote, yeah. Well, nobody announces these things in advance. Nobody puts these things to a vote. Nobody tells you in advance we'll raise taxes. They'll tell you when they raise the taxes. Oh, by the way, we've done this. And then there'll be a sea of retards screaming, "Hooray, hooray, we're finally taxing the rich," when really it always just comes back down to the poor.
For the NHS, and they're talking about globally rich and globally poor, which means that everyone, the working classes of Western countries count as globally rich. So they're using the welfare state, the NHS, in order to increase welfare spending for others. And by saying that we need to have patriotic renewal and our national renewal and our nation is not exclusive, they mean the entire world.
Yep. Everybody in the world is just an Englishman who hasn't got here yet.
And all those, millions of people who've arrived since after World War II. We never asked for permission,
Nope.
from you to have them in. But now that they are all here, not only have we had the policy, but we're now demanding what you must think of the policy and what you must think of the new arrivals. And what you must think, and it'll be war if you don't, is basically that they're just as English as you are.
You're not allowed to be upset about it, otherwise we'll brand you a racist and probably arrest you for tweets or Facebook posts or something. Or, given the escalation of political violence recently, the idea of you being a racist equals you are a Nazi, therefore equals you are fair game to murder or otherwise violently assault. In response to this declaration of war, Nigel Farage just said that they're going to teach Starmer a lesson at the ballot box next year, saying that he's more determined than ever. It's a 20-second clip. There's not much more else to say about that. The only other thing I wanted to address is that this has sadly reignited the annoying discussion on what is or isn't an Englishman. As I have said many times before, an Englishman is someone of Celto-Germanic heritage who descends from the Anglo-Saxon tribes that came over here in the 5th and 6th centuries, as well as the Celtic Britons who were already here, who then became the Welsh, the Scottish, blah-de-blah-de-blah. It is as simple as that. If you do not have that heritage, you are not English. Furthermore, the whole idea of the British civic identity I have already addressed earlier, but to me and to many others, it is an umbrella term for the peoples, the native peoples of these isles, and nothing else. I do not want to have to relitigate this conversation all over again. We already taught you this lesson with Rishi Sunak. Don't make us do it again, okay? And that's all of the interesting stuff to say about the Labour Party conference. I do not sadly have a compilation of a load of blue-haired people screeching about pronouns on the stage, but frankly, I think we're beyond that.
I particularly like the framing from Shabana, where it's like, is Nigel Farage a racist? It's like, well, he's maybe worse than that. It's like, oh, so we do agree that there are things worse than racists. It's just now a question of degree where you...
Are we going by TV logic? Because I've been told that actually television has taught me that being racist is far worse than being a gun runner, a drug dealer, a murderer. Maybe not a rapist, but most rapists in TV tend to be racists as well. So, these are questions.
Well, if your rhetoric is constantly scaremongering to the extreme, at some point you're going to run out of extreme notions to scaremonger about, to scare people with.
Yes.
And you'll have to say, yeah, he's worse than this. He's worse than a Nazi. He's worse than evil, worse than Satan.
All right.
That's what happens when your rhetoric is completely out of touch with what's going on.
If you would like to watch the full uncut version that is also uncensored, head on over to lotuseaters.com to find out more.